You might believe that marriage is a sacred vow, a bond unshakable by temptation. But what if I told you that married women are often more available than single ones? It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? Society paints a picture of marriage as protective shield, an institution that safeguards love and loyalty. The moment a woman wears a wedding ring, she's supposed to be off limits, untouchable, committed to one man for life. But reality tells a different story, one that is uncomfortable for many to accept. The truth is, marriage is not the fortress of loyalty that people assume it to be. In fact, the very structure of marriage sometimes makes infidelity more likely, not less. The assumption that a married woman is immune to outside attraction is flawed because it ignores one crucial thing: human nature. A relationship on paper does not erase a person's emotional needs, desires, or curiosity. It does not eliminate loneliness, boredom, or the craving for excitement. And in many cases, it creates a paradox. The very thing meant to prevent cheating can, under the right circumstances, encourage it. We are conditioned to believe that single women have more opportunities for relationships, while married women have made their choice and stay within their boundaries. But let's apply some logic. A single woman lives in a world where she has infinite options. She can flirt, go on dates, explore connections, and receive validation from an endless stream of admirers. On the other hand, a married woman exists within a more limited space. Her options are fewer, her chances of new excitement are restricted, and the attention she receives is drastically reduced. And this is where things become interesting. Because the fewer opportunities a person has, the more valuable each one becomes. A married woman is often not actively looking, but when something intriguing crosses her path, an attractive man who pays attention, someone who makes her feel seen and appreciated, it sparks something deep inside. The very limitation of her situation makes the experience feel even more intense. It's the classic effect of scarcity. The less available something is, the more desirable it becomes. In this video, we will explore why married women, despite their commitments, sometimes become more open to outside attraction than single women. We will break down the factors that contribute to this surprising reality, from emotional dissatisfaction to the psychological pull of novelty. By the end, you may find yourself questioning what you once believed about relationships, loyalty, and the true nature of commitment. Marriage is often seen as the ultimate commitment, a lifelong bond built on love, trust, and unwavering loyalty. The vows exchanged on a wedding day are meant to be sacred, a promise to stay faithful no matter what. But reality paints a different picture, one where human nature doesn't simply switch off because a ceremony took place. People are emotional beings, driven by desires, needs, and the constant search for fulfillment. And just because a woman is married doesn't mean she stops feeling lonely, unappreciated, or disconnected. Many assume that loyalty is automatic in marriage, as if the wedding ring itself acts as a barrier against temptation. But loyalty isn't just a promise, it's a daily choice, and that choice becomes much harder when emotional and physical needs are not being met. Over time, relationships fall into routines, and the excitement that once existed begins to fade. The attention, the affection, the passion, things that were once abundant, slowly start to diminish. And while some women accept this as part of marriage, others begin to seek out the validation they feel they have lost. This is where a dangerous illusion comes into play. On the surface, everything may seem fine. A woman in a stable marriage appearing committed and loyal. But beneath that surface, there can be a deep, unspoken dissatisfaction. She may not even realize it at first, but small moments begin to reveal the cracks. A compliment from a stranger feels unusually exciting. A friendly conversation with a coworker lingers in her mind longer than it should. The warmth of attention she no longer receives at home suddenly feels intoxicating. And just like that, she finds herself drawn to something outside her marriage, not necessarily because she planned to, but because she feels something she's been missing. This is where moral flexibility comes into play. People often assume they would never cross certain lines, that they are immune to temptation because they hold strong values. But when faced with a situation that stirs emotions they haven't felt in a long time, their perspective begins to shift. The mind is skilled at justifying actions that once seemed unacceptable. It's just harmless flirting. It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. If my husband paid attention to me, I wouldn't feel this way. These small rationalizations build up over time, making it easier to take steps they never thought they would. From a Stoic perspective, this reveals an important truth. Virtue is not about external labels. A woman is not truly loyal just because she is a wife. A man is not automatically trustworthy just because he is a husband. Marriage in itself does not create character. True discipline and integrity come from within, from a person's ability to control their desires and remain grounded in their principles, no matter the situation. A Stoic understands that external circumstances, whether it be marriage, temptation, or personal struggles, do not dictate a person's actions. It is their internal strength, their self-discipline that determines whether they stay true to their values. This is why the illusion of loyalty is so dangerous. Many assume that marriage itself will keep someone faithful, that love alone is enough to prevent infidelity. But the truth is, real loyalty comes from conscious effort, from constantly nurturing a relationship, and from individuals holding themselves accountable to their own principles. Without that, even the strongest commitments can fade, leaving room for justifications, compromises, and ultimately choices that lead far from the path of true virtue. In the early stages of a relationship, everything feels exciting. Every glance, every touch, every conversation is filled with energy and anticipation. But as time passes, even the most passionate love stories settle into routine. Familiarity replaces mystery, and comfort takes the place of excitement. This is the natural course of long-term relationships. Predictability sets in, and what was once thrilling becomes ordinary. While stability is often seen as a positive thing, it also creates a psychological trap. The more predictable a relationship becomes, the more tempting novelty appears. Human nature is wired to crave variety. This is why people are drawn to new experiences, new places, and new challenges. In a marriage, however, life often follows a set pattern. Waking up, handling responsibilities, having familiar conversations, repeating the same routines day after day. Over time, this predictability can start to feel suffocating, even if the relationship itself is stable and loving. A woman in a long-term relationship may find herself longing for something different, not necessarily because she is unhappy, but because she misses the feeling of excitement, of something unexpected happening in her life. This is where the law of scarcity comes into play. When something is rare, it naturally feels more valuable. In the dating world, single women receive endless attention. Messages, compliments, invitations. They can choose when and how to engage. But a married woman, especially one in a routine relationship, experiences attention far less often. If her husband has stopped giving her meaningful compliments, if he no longer flirts with her or makes her feel desired, she begins to feel invisible. So when another man unexpectedly offers her a kind word, a deep conversation, or a simple moment of connection, it carries an immense weight. What might seem like a small gesture to someone else feels like a spark of life to her, because it's something she has been missing. This is why emotional neglect in a relationship is so dangerous. It doesn't always happen intentionally. People get comfortable. They assume their partner knows they are loved, and they stop putting in effort. But for the person on the receiving end, this creates a silent void. When someone feels emotionally unseen, they will seek validation elsewhere, even if they don't consciously realize it at first. What begins as an innocent interaction, laughing at a joke, exchanging friendly messages, can quickly evolve into something deeper because it fills an emotional gap. The problem isn't always that the marriage is bad, but that it has become stagnant. And stagnation creates the perfect environment for temptation to take root. There is also a great paradox in stability. While security in a relationship is what people say they want, it often leads to complacency. When someone believes their partner will always be there, they stop trying as hard. The effort that once existed, dressing up for date nights, engaging in deep conversations, planning surprises, slowly fades away. And without effort, a relationship can start to feel more like a routine partnership than a passionate connection. Ironically, the more secure a relationship seems, the more it can lead to boredom. And boredom is one of the strongest motivators for seeking something new. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes essential. A Stoic does not chase fleeting excitement, but instead seeks deep, lasting fulfillment. The key is self-awareness, understanding whether the desire for novelty is truly about needing something new or simply about neglecting what is already present. Instead of allowing routine to create distance, a Stoic approach would be to remain fully engaged, appreciating what is already there while continuing to nurture it. Relationships require conscious effort, and true connection is not about constantly seeking external excitement, but about continuously discovering new depths within the bond itself. Those who fail to recognize this are the ones who fall into the trap of routine, searching for something outside of their relationship when the real answer lies in revitalizing what they already have. In today's world, single women are constantly in the spotlight. Social media, dating apps, and even everyday interactions flood them with attention, compliments, and admiration. Every new photo gets reactions, every outing brings the possibility of meeting someone new, and every casual conversation can turn into flirtation. This steady stream of external validation reinforces their sense of desirability. But for a married woman, that attention slowly fades over time. She is no longer actively pursued, no longer receives as many compliments, and is rarely the center of romantic attention outside of her relationship. The world stops reminding her that she is attractive, and without that constant reinforcement, she may start questioning it herself. This shift in attention can create an unexpected psychological effect. When a woman has been in a relationship, for years she may feel as though she has become invisible, not because she has lost her beauty or value, but because society no longer treats her as someone to be won over. Unlike single women who are often reminded of their desirability through new interactions, a married woman may go days, weeks, or even months without experiencing that same level of attention. And in a time where social media has set unrealistic standards for validation, this absence can feel more significant than ever. Social media plays a major role in shaping how people perceive their worth. Every day, women are exposed to images of others receiving likes, comments, and admiration. Seeing other women praised and pursued can create an unconscious comparison. Am I still attractive? Do people still notice me? For a married woman, who no longer receives the kind of validation she once did, these thoughts can become more frequent. And when a simple compliment from an outside man finally does come, it carries far more weight than it normally would. A single woman is used to receiving flirtation and admiration. For her, it's routine. But for a married woman, even a small gesture, an unexpected compliment, a lingering glance, a moment of playful conversation, can feel electrifying. Not because she is necessarily unhappy in her marriage, but because it reminds her of something she hasn't felt in a long time: the thrill of being desired. This is why outside attention can sometimes be dangerous. A moment of validation can awaken a feeling she didn't even realize she had been missing, making her more receptive to further interactions. Some women even see external attention as a way to test their desirability. Years in a stable relationship can make someone wonder if they've still got it. A married woman might not seek out validation intentionally, but when it presents itself, she may entertain it to reassure herself that she is still attractive and interesting. It's not always about wanting another relationship. It's often about proving to herself that she is still valued outside of her role as a wife or mother. This is where Stoic wisdom provides clarity. A Stoic understands that true confidence does not come from external validation, it comes from within. Seeking Approval from others is a dangerous game because it places self-worth in the hands of external forces. If a woman relies on attention from outside her marriage to feel desirable, she becomes dependent on something she cannot control. True strength lies in self-assurance, in knowing one's own worth without needing the world to confirm it. The danger of chasing external validation is that it is never enough. Once someone starts depending on it, they will always need more. A strong, self-aware person does not need constant reminders of their value. Instead of seeking reassurance from fleeting encounters, they find confidence in their actions, their character, and the depth of their relationships. Married or single, the real lesson is that true desirability does not come from how much attention one receives. It comes from the way one carries themselves, with quiet confidence and inner security. Those who understand this are unshaken by the passing of time, because they do not need the world to tell them what they already know. As time passes, a married woman may begin to feel that the window for certain experiences is closing. Life responsibilities pile up: work, family, children, household duties, and the carefree spontaneity of youth starts to fade. But emotional intimacy is powerful. The more she opens up, the more she feels connected, and before she realizes it, she's seeking this person out more and more. This is the hidden danger. Emotional affairs don't feel like cheating at first. Because there's no physical boundary being crossed, it's easy to justify. He's just a friend. I just need someone to talk to. There's nothing wrong with this. But slowly, the emotional bond deepens, and the desire for something more starts to grow. When a woman feels understood by someone outside her marriage in a way she doesn't feel at home, the temptation to take things further increases dramatically. The problem is, once emotional intimacy is established, physical attraction often follows. Many affairs don't start with lust, they start with comfort. A woman may not even realize she's drifting into dangerous territory until she suddenly finds herself crossing a line she never expected. She's no longer thinking about right or wrong. She's thinking about how this person makes her feel. The loneliness she felt in her marriage is replaced by excitement, validation, and the thrill of something new. This is why true connection in a relationship must go beyond momentary passion. A strong marriage isn't just about physical attraction. It's about deep emotional bonding that stands the test of time. If a woman feels like she has to escape emotionally, it's a sign that something is missing in the relationship. And when that need isn't addressed, she will naturally look elsewhere to fill it, whether she realizes it or not. Stoicism teaches an important lesson here. Mastering emotional control is essential to navigating relationships. A Stoic understands the difference between fleeting desires and true fulfillment. Instead of chasing validation from others, a strong person seeks fulfillment within themselves first. They recognize that emotional needs are real, but they don't let those needs control their decisions. True wisdom is knowing when an emotional connection is crossing a line. It's about being aware of one's own feelings before they spiral into actions that can't be undone. The key to preventing emotional affairs isn't just about resisting temptation. It's about building a life and a relationship so fulfilling that the need for escape never arises in the first place. When both partners are committed to real connection, when they make the effort to see, hear, and understand each other every day, there's no need to look elsewhere. The strongest relationships aren't the ones without temptation. They are the ones where temptation holds no power at all. As emotional affairs turn into physical ones, there is often one final barrier that used to keep people in check: fear of consequences. In the past, the idea of getting caught, damaging one's reputation, or facing the fallout of infidelity was enough to keep many from crossing the line. But in today's world, that fear has weakened. The traditional stigma around cheating isn't as strong as it once was, and for many married women, the risk doesn't seem as daunting as it used to. Modern culture has played a huge role in this shift. Movies, television shows, and social media have normalized infidelity, portraying it as an exciting escape rather than a betrayal. Affairs are often romanticized, shown as passionate and liberating, while the consequences are downplayed. Instead, seeing infidelity as something shameful, many people now see it as something almost expected, especially in long-term relationships. The message is clear. If you're unhappy, if you feel neglected, if you crave excitement, then stepping outside your marriage is not only understandable but sometimes even justified. This change in perspective leads to a shocking reality. Many married women who cheat don't see their actions as wrong, in the way society once did. Instead, they view them as a necessary experience, something they deserve because of what they've been missing. If their marriage feels cold and distant, if they feel unappreciated, if they have sacrificed years for their family without feeling fulfilled, they convince themselves that they are simply reclaiming a part of their lives. It's no longer about betrayal, it's about self-discovery. But here's where things get even more concerning. The human mind is a master at rationalization. People have an incredible ability to justify actions that they once considered unacceptable. A woman who once believed in loyalty and commitment may now tell herself, "I'm not really doing anything wrong. I'm just finding happiness." Or, "If my husband truly cared, I wouldn't need to do this." These mental gymnastics allow people to make peace with their actions, removing the guilt and making it easier to repeat the behavior. What's worse, accountability has weakened. With the rise of private messaging apps, dating platforms designed for affairs, and a culture that promotes personal happiness above all else, there are fewer barriers to cheating than ever before. Friends who once would have discouraged it now turn a blind eye, or even encourage it under the guise of, "You deserve to be happy." The moral lines that used to be clear have become blurred, and for many, the fear of judgment or consequences is almost non-existent. But here's where Stoic wisdom provides clarity. True self-respect does not come from chasing fleeting pleasure or justifying actions that compromise integrity. It comes from doing what is right, even when no one is watching. A Stoic understands that happiness gained through deception is not true happiness. It's temporary, fragile, and ultimately destructive. They recognize that real fulfillment does not come from seeking external excitement, but from building inner strength and discipline. This is the difference between short-term pleasure and long-term wisdom. Giving in to temptation may feel good in the moment, but it often leads to regret, broken trust, and a loss of self-respect. The strongest people are not those who never feel desire or temptation, but those who have the power to control it. When a person values their principles more than their impulses, they build a foundation of strength that no temptation can shake. In the end, the real question isn't whether one can justify an action. It's whether that action aligns with the kind of person they truly want to be. A moment of excitement is fleeting, but integrity lasts a lifetime. The more a person understands this, the less power temptation has over them. And in a world where accountability is fading, those who stand firm in their values will always be the ones who rise above. When you step back and look at all the factors we've explored, it becomes clear that the availability of married women is not just a myth. It's a reality shaped by psychology, human nature, and the shifting dynamics of modern relationships. The illusion of loyalty, the trap of routine, the craving for external validation, the now or never mentality, and the emotional escape route all play a role in making infidelity more common than most people are willing to admit. Marriage, which was once seen as a lifelong commitment built on unshakable trust, is now often tested by temptations that previous generations never had to face. But here's where Stoic wisdom offers a path forward. No external rule, no social expectation, and no wedding vow can ever guarantee loyalty. The only true safeguard against emotional chaos is wisdom and self-discipline. A person who understands themselves deeply, who values long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure, and who remains rooted in their principles will not be easily swayed by temptation. The world will always offer distractions, and human nature will always be drawn to them. But true strength comes from mastering those impulses rather than being controlled by them. This brings us to an important question. Do you think modern marriage still holds the same value as it did in the past? Or has it become an illusion? Something people cling to even as its original meaning fades? Is loyalty still the foundation of a strong relationship? Or has the definition of commitment changed in today's world? Let me know in the comments. What surprised you the most in this video? Did any of these factors make you see things differently? Have you witnessed these dynamics play out in real life? Your perspective is valuable, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future discussions on Stoicism, human nature, and relationships. There's so much more to explore, and together we can uncover the deeper truths about the way people think, act, and navigate life. Stay tuned for the next one. Unlike a single woman who feels she has endless opportunities ahead, a married woman may see each passing year as a reminder that time is running out. This creates a subtle but powerful sense of urgency. She might not have consciously thought about it before, but the idea lingers in the back of her mind. If not now, then when? This is the now or never mentality, a psychological trap that makes forbidden experiences feel even more compelling. The pressure of age, the weight of routine, and the growing sense of missing out can push a person to make impulsive choices they never expected. A woman in her early 20s rarely worries about losing her desirability. She knows she still has time. But a woman who has been in a long-term relationship for years, especially if she feels neglected or taken for granted, may start to wonder if she will ever feel that thrill again. As responsibilities grow, so does the feeling of being trapped in a structured life. Family expectations, social pressure, and the weight of marriage make it harder to justify stepping outside of that framework. Ironically, this restriction makes the temptation even stronger. The more something feels off limits, the more desirable it becomes. A woman in a stable marriage isn't supposed to seek excitement elsewhere, and yet, that very rule can make the idea of breaking it intoxicating. The fear of missing out plays a huge role in this. Life moves fast and people change. A woman who once believed she had everything she wanted may suddenly feel restless, wondering what else could have been. It's not that she planned to betray her vows, it's that the thought creeps in slowly. Seeing friends who are single and free, hearing stories of adventure and romance, and watching time slip by can make her question if she's truly lived. If an opportunity presents itself, a moment of connection, an unexpected attraction, it can feel like a rare chance she may never get again. The secrecy surrounding these situations adds another layer to the temptation. What is forbidden often becomes more desirable. The thrill of doing something hidden, the rush of sneaking around, the idea of having a double life. It all creates an intoxicating mix of excitement and fear. It's not just about attraction. It's about the rush of breaking free from routine, even if only for a moment. The risk itself becomes part of the appeal, and the more limited that opportunity feels, the harder it is to resist. This is where Stoicism provides an essential lesson. A Stoic understands that the pursuit of fleeting pleasure often leads to long-term regret. True wisdom comes from seeing the bigger picture, not just the immediate gratification, but the consequences that follow. Short-term excitement is easy to chase, but lasting fulfillment comes from discipline and self-awareness. The ability to resist temptation isn't about denying oneself joy. It's about knowing which pleasures are truly worth pursuing. A moment of impulsiveness can change everything, but a wise person understands the difference between temporary thrill and lasting meaning. The real challenge is not avoiding temptation. It's having the strength to see through it. A person who masters their desires is not controlled by external circumstances. They don't act out of fear, boredom, or scarcity. Instead, they build a life so fulfilling that they don't need to escape from it. In the end, the greatest freedom comes not from breaking the rules, but from living in a way where temptation holds no power at all. For many women, cheating isn't about physical attraction. It's about emotional escape. While the common assumption is that affairs start with irresistible passion, the truth is often far more subtle. Many married women don't seek out excitement in another man's arms because they're simply drawn to his looks or charm. Instead, they are looking for something deeper, someone who sees them, listens to them, and understands them in a way they feel their husband no longer does. Over time, routine and daily responsibilities can turn a marriage into something mechanical. Conversations revolve around household chores, finances, and children, rather than dreams, feelings, or personal struggles. A woman might feel unheard, unnoticed, and emotionally disconnected. It's not that she doesn't love her husband, but she may feel like the relationship has lost its warmth. And when someone else appears, someone who genuinely listens, who asks how she's feeling, who makes her feel valued, an emotional bond starts to form. A man doesn't have to be physically extraordinary to create this connection. In fact, a woman will often be more drawn to someone who simply makes her feel understood. A casual acquaintance, a coworker, or even a longtime friend can become the person she confides in. At first, it seems harmless. She tells herself she's just talking, just sharing thoughts, and